Happy Peeps, healthy chat, it's Peepschat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Arisha.
And I am Nikki, and welcome to the fifth episode of this season's Peeps Chat Show.
Okay, so for today's episode, our topic is thoughtful trip, budget trip, where our guests will share tips and tricks on having a budget trip to your dream vacation. Basically, anything about traveling.
All right, so you know what, Arisha, without any more delay, why don't we just straight away introduce our guest for tonight? So let's welcome Mr. Powell Roy or Dr. Powell Roy. Welcome, Mr.
Hello,
Roy.
everyone.
Hi. How are you
Hi,
doing, Dr. Roy?
I'm doing good. I'm well.
That's
How
good.
about you
All
Great.
right,
guys?
so I'm
Yeah, we
doing
are doing good as
great.
well.
Especially with you here. We feel very honored to have you in our show tonight.
Yes.
My pleasure.
So, Dr. Roy, if you don't mind, could you please, introduce yourself a bit for our viewers out there?
All right, I'm Powell Roy. I am a doctor. I work as a medical officer in KKM, and currently I'm doing my master's in family medicine. Actually, I've done this. This is my final week, and I also
Wow.
travel everywhere as I can, and I write blogs and I share in my social media platforms called the Roy Travels, and on Instagram and Facebook, and also I have a blog page. So basically, I'm a travel blogger as well.
That's
Ooh,
very
travel
interesting.
bloggers. Yeah, very amazing to know that.
Mhm. Studying
So,
masters and a travel blogger. Very
wow.
amazing.
Yeah, very inspiring because, I'm studying as well, but
Mhm.
I cannot travel anywhere.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge to balance up between both, but sometimes things get crazy.
Yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
so yeah, before I proceed with the interview, number one, I want to tell to you guys do not forget to give tonight's episode a big thumbs up. And number two, I just want to remind the viewers out there that if you have any questions for our guest tonight, feel free to type it out in the chat section. And if you have enough time, inshallah, we will have Dr. Roy answer your questions. Okay,
All right. So, with that being said, Arisha, why not we dive right into our questions for tonight for Dr. Roy, shall we?
let's
Okay,
go.
so are you ready, Dr. Roy?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, so the first question is like it's a more of a three in one kind of question. So, firstly, like since when have you became a budget traveler? Which country have you been to? And also like what do you feel when you remember the experience of traveling?
All right. So budget travel is basically cost conscious travel. That means you have a, a budget for hotel booking, accommodation, and flights, and therefore I think everyone has this issue of budget when we think about traveling, right? So I had
Mhm.
the same doubt with myself. So when I was undergraduate, it was a bit difficult for me to travel. Yes, I did some local traveling, and but overseas I only traveled after I graduated, and I started with budget traveling as well. I tried to I customize itinerary myself, and
Mhm.
which was about 2013 or 14, and since then until now I've traveled now to 23 countries, and now I do a bit of mixture. Like I do mix with a bit of expensive traveling with budget traveling, which you will learn along the way.
Ah.
How can you do it? It's possible actually, but you can. All you have to do is to just start traveling, even with a minimum budget. And but
Mm.
your questions, how do about your question on how do I feel? Actually, initially you do feel a bit proud, checking all the bucket list. But you will realize as you
Yeah.
travel, you will feel a bit. It's more like a matured traveling. You feel more contented
Mm.
because you get to
True.
experience yourself, and also you get
Mm.
to appreciate the culture and people from different walks of life. It's really interesting, and
Yeah.
also you will feel much blessed that this is an opportunity for you to actually reflect how thankful you are, because not every country is like how you see on social media. When you see the reality, you feel that, oh, you're actually much blessed in your home country. So I take traveling experience as a daily as a learning experience as well.
Hmm. Very
That's
interesting.
yeah, that's very amazing. So, Dr. Roy, So you've been traveling to like 23 countries. So do you travel alone or with your friends? If then, how do you handle the planning and coordination for your trips?
All right. So there are some that I travel with my friends, some with my some solo, and a few with my mom actually. So usually, what you need to do is actually you need to identify what kind of trip that you want to do, and at least you should have a rough idea in your mind that, for example, you want to do hiking or you want to go to a country just to appreciate the sea and the sun, and or do you want to just experience the season like winter, and then which country that suits your budget, and then you need a lead person to do the booking. So at least you start one person do the booking for the flights, for example, and then
Mm-hmm.
rest of the trip you can uh, organize subsequently. And then it depends, if you are confident to do it all by yourself, usually what I'll do is I'll plan the whole trip, and then I'll share it with my friends, ask their opinion. And if you're not confident, then you can divide. Okay, after booking the flight, for example, you want to go Bangkok. Okay, after booking the flights
Mm-hmm.
for 3 person, maybe the other, you divide the duties. Like, okay, you do the research on accommodation. Okay, you find what are the places that we can visit, or what are the activities that we can do, and another person about the transportation. What are we going to do around? And sometimes, actually, I do compare with travel agents. There's a benefit there. Sometimes you do get something that is cheaper, and you find it
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's safe because they are going to bring you everywhere. And sometimes what I do is I get the itinerary, and then it's like I get the main points from there, and then I plan it myself. So this is how I
Oh.
get things done actually for my travel.
Oh, all right. So, like, can you tell us briefly the pros and cons of traveling alone and also traveling like with your friends? Just very briefly.
All right. I think basically, if you're traveling alone, it's more like a
Mm-hmm.
self-discover process, because you actually learn about your strength
Yes.
and your weaknesses. You'll know that
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you're
Uh-huh.
an introvert, you'll learn that it's a bit difficult for me to communicate. And if you are outgoing, you
Ah.
know that what are your limitations, and so basically you
Mm.
discover so much about yourself when you travel solo. But the cons is
Mhm.
actually sometimes it can be a bit, you can feel a bit lonely, especially for beginners. And
Ah.
also those who like to extroverts, or those like to chat and talk a lot, actually you will kind of feel a bit, you have no partner to talk to throughout the journey. And if you're an Instagrammer, I think taking pictures will be a problem as well. So
All
Yes.
traveling,
right.
of course, this is opposite to the cons that I mentioned for solo travel. But I think one of the
Mhm.
good part of traveling in a group is the strengthening the bond. I think that is much that is the biggest plus point to me, because if you travel with your family, I think that will be a memorable trip, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So you know what, Dr.
Cons
Roy,
and-
we have way more questions,
all right,
honestly.
sure.
But I think why not we take a break before we ask, more about how to plan for trips and so on. So
Sure.
if you guys want to know more about how to plan trips, stay tuned only on Peace Chat by IIM TV. I didn't know there were actually 5 hours.
I fixed it to phonograph. Don't please acting as your party.
Wow.
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 Ooh. Happy Peeps, healthy chat. Welcome back to Peeps Chat, everyone, where we have a special guest to discuss the topic thoughtful trip, budget trip. Let's welcome back Dr. Roy.
Hello.
Okay, Dr. Roy. So let's continue from the commercial break. The question I'm going to ask you is, sometimes when you go travel for a very long time you have like maybe emotions, some kind of emotions, or homesick. So how do you control those emotions or culture shock when you travel to different countries, and how do you adapt with the differences in terms of culture, currency, etc.?
All right. I think the most important thing is to go with the right expectation, because from my experience, I notice sometimes when you travel with your friends, they do not do any background reading, and then they might be disappointed with the travel destination. Maybe they tend to compare with their previous travel experience, like when they will go to Europe, and then when you go to India, your expectation should be totally different. You can't expect the same thing. So anticipate changes. So do some reading, read about the place that you're going to go, the people, what are their sensitivities. This will make your trip interesting, and you will know exactly what to expect and what kind of changes that you may experience. And during the trip, I think one of the way to cope is to share about the experience along the way. I think now we have WhatsApp groups, and we are very much
True.
connected through social media and internet. So
Yes.
keep sharing with your friends what are the interesting things that you get along the way. Another thing that I do during my solo travel is to take, when you are waiting in an airport or train station, I do start writing reviews for the places that I've already visited. So actually that occupies
Wow.
my
Oh.
time. And then, or you write some
Mhm.
points about your experiences, and then when you go back home, you can write a full blog on your entire trip.
Mm. All right,
Very a
so
very
Dr.
good trip
Roy,
tips.
as a new traveler, what would you say are the, initial steps we need to take in planning the itinerary?
All right, like I mentioned just now, first decide a place. So if you have 2 or 3 friends in your trip, decide a place
Mm-hmm.
to go. Roughly, maybe, okay, at least I want to visit a country in Southeast Asia, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Thailand or Vietnam. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
see any promotion, uh, roughly decide when you can take leaves or when is your leaves, and then you book
Mm-hmm.
the flights at least about 4 or 5 days, and then you plan your remaining of the trip. Then you can do the planning subsequently. So
Mm-hmm.
planning on deciding on the place, I think that one is depends on several factors, like whether it's affordable, whether it's the country is with a low cost of living, personal
Mm-hmm.
interest. If someone who likes to do city tour, I think it's not uh, ideal for you to
Suitable.
book,
Mm-hmm.
like for example Maldives, because the person, you already know that your travel partner prefers city tour. So that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and also good public transportation for beginners, I think it's quite important. If you're planning a backpacking trip, choose a country that has a good public transportation, and so that you will not you are you're not you won't have that fear of getting lost. And then
I
subsequently
see.
you can plan the other things. You for to look for the places that you can visit in a country, try to search in
Mm-hmm.
Google things to do. So example, Bangkok,
Uh,
you just search things to do in Bangkok, and all the major landmarks will appear, like Wat Arun, Grand
yeah.
Palace.
Like the trip advisors and all, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you choose the accommodation, finalize the accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
You can use agoda.com or booking.com,
Yeah.
Traveloka. If you are a bit you're constantly worried about the destination or the duration that you're going to go to, choose one major landmark and try to find a hotel nearby to that major landmark.
I
And
see.
perhaps you can set your budget, like 2 star to 3 star. They have that column for you to set, and then you do the booking for your
Mm-hmm.
hotels. And then if you have extra time or you want to make your trip more interesting, then you can go searching in, blog. You can read bloggers opinion or their experience in the place, or you can hashtag and search in Instagram, like Bangkok
Mm-hmm.
or Bangkok Gram, that kind of thing, and you can see all those top posts of the major travel spots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
for me, I think flight is the most important thing. Like going there first rather than thinking about what you want to do.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
there first is very important. Like accommodation, transport, right?
Yes,
Um,
because actually I have friends who like for me I will just book, like I have friends who are like 50-50, but when you once I make the booking for the flights, they all will work hard for the trip. So usually
yeah, they
that's
have
the
to
first step.
100%.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Roy, since you already like share the tips, like go check the Google and such. So, what are the websites or people you use or you usually follow for research or inspiration when planning a trip? Like, do you have any recommendation for new travelers
Oh
to
yes,
refer
yes.
to?
I do have a few. Like in
Okay.
terms of reading, general reading about the place and getting inspiration, I would suggest Lonely Planet, Unilad
Ooh.
Adventure, and World of Nomads. These travel pages actually they describe quite in detail about the place, and they come up with nice photos of the place. It may be deceiving, but you want to get inspired, right? So I think that is
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
these pages are quite good. And then in
Mm-hmm.
terms of tips from bloggers, I have a few on Instagram, like Travel Tom Tom, Nomadic
Mm.
Matt. If you can't get, maybe we can I can chat, put it in the chat box later,
Yes.
and Marina Comets. So these travel
Ah.
bloggers actually they do share their experience along the way in their Insta stories. So you get to see the real travel experiences rather than just
Mm-hmm.
pictures. And in terms of
Yeah.
local pages, I also have some for local pages because traveling doesn't mean that MCO actually have taught me that traveling is not just about overseas countries. We have so many places to visit in Malaysia. So places
Mhm.
Malaysia, Malaysia Truly Asia, Gaia Travel, KL
Mm-hmm.
Foodie. These are some of the pages that you can.
Yes.
In terms
Okay.
I
of
know
reading,
KL foodie by heart.
KL Foodie, yeah, I follow that too.
in terms of booking, there's some pages that you can look for, like Klook Travel, KLOOK.
Mm.
Have you heard of it? And
Yeah.
Yes.
Agoda.com, Booking.com, Traveloka. For Europe, Viator.com. They are actually part of TripAdvisor. Any package, like for
Ooh.
example, you have booked Italy, but you don't know where to go. You can
Mm-hmm.
outline the cities like Rome,
Mm-hmm.
Milan, and then from there you just go to viator.com and you click Rome, and then you'll get like a day trip to Colosseum, a day trip, a city tour trip, that kind of things, and you can take like individual packages instead of the whole package. And also
Ah.
another tip is to go to the particular pages of Instagram. Like for example, you want to go to a particular hotel, you can go directly to their Instagram to see any promotion, and then you go to their direct pages on based on their link in bio, and you book from there.
Mm, all right. So, you know what? Like, based on those things that you said, what do you think is the simplest method, for travelers to save money?
I think one of the way is to join in membership programs. Many travel companies actually do have their membership program, and also for frequent flyer program, which is collecting air miles. So it doesn't matter, even if you're not a travel holic, you can just register first. Most of it are free of charge. For example, Air Asia,
Mm-hmm.
they have big loyalty program. Actually, I've traveled a lot for by this frequent flyer program. I traveled to
Mm-hmm.
Beijing for only 20 ringgit to and fro because I used
Mm.
all my points from the from Asia Peak. So once you
Ah.
travel, and then you will learn how to save the more points. Like for example, from your booking, from any other uh, membership program that you can convert the points, and there you will find some ways to accumulate the points. And
Mm.
another thing is to save money. Basically, if you're a student, especially, set a like or have a travel piggy bank and set a goal. Like you need to save, okay, at least 1,000
Mm-hmm.
ringgit first, and then
Mm-hmm.
you work towards it. Like cut short, like avoid going to expensive cafes
I
and
see.
yeah. For time being, you just do that because you want
For
to achieve your
budget
travel
travel,
goal.
right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, doctor.
Yes.
So before we further discuss the topic about this thoughtful trip, budget trip, why don't we take another break? We will be back
Sure.
only on Peepschat by IIM TV.
I didn't know there were actually 5 hours.
I fixed it to chronograph. Don't recycling as your fine.
Happy Peeps, Healthy Chat. Welcome back to the fifth episode of this season's Peeps Chat. So, if you guys don't know yet, tonight's topic is actually thoughtful trip, budget trip. So, where we have a special guest to discuss that particular topic. So, we have Dr. Roy. Welcome back, Dr. Roy, to the
Hello.
show. All right, so without any more delay, let's just dive right into the questions, shall we?
Sure.
So, my question is there any best time to travel, or does it depend on the place that you are planning to go to?
Actually, it depends on your location and also any particular activities that you want to do or any particular thing that you want to see. So it depends on that. I cannot say based on my preference that okay, December is the best season to travel, and it depends on the
Mm-hmm.
location because different countries have different seasons. And what
True.
do you want to see from that? From that, so for example, if you want to like countries, rainforest countries like Malaysia, South Asia, no problem. You can visit throughout the year, but also you still have to check whether that it is a rainy season or not because we know that sometimes the whole week may be raining and you want to hike, you can't do it. So go to Google and search weather in, for example, in Kuala Lumpur. So you want to know whether it's a rainy season on that particular week. And then in terms of destination, if you're going to a country, check the season. And what I meant by if you want to look into something specific, just for example, if you want to see tulips in Netherlands, you have to go during spring. You can't be booking in November or December. You have to book spring, which is in Europe around March to May. And for example, you want to see lavender in France, it has to be around summer season, if I'm not mistaken. And autumn, if you want to just see the leaves falling down, so that is to be autumn, right? So which is around
Yes.
August to November. So it all depends on your choice and which what kind of season you want to see. And like even winter, some actually do not prefer because the daytime is short and you are worried of
Ah,
extreme cold weather. You might be an asthmatic. But for another person,
Um,
their lifetime dream is to see Christmas in London, for example. So then you have to book during December, right?
true.
mhm. Everything you said sounds very magical. Just seeing lavenders in Paris and seeing tulips in
True.
Netherlands and
And,
Christmas in London. Ah,
Here
so
in Malaysia, I only see hibiscus.
but I still love things in Malaysia. The greenery and the rainforest.
mhm,
Yes,
true.
true. So basically, like we have to do a bit of research on what we want to actually see. If we want to see the autumn or winter, basically four
Yes,
seasons, we have to know when it's gonna be, right,
yeah,
Doctor?
yes, exactly.
Right.
Because we are so lucky that the information is in the tip of our fingers. Anything you
Yeah,
can go in Google search, do some homework and reading.
I see. So, me and Nikki are women. So, do you have any opinion on women as solo traveler? Do you think is it risky or it's okay to go traveling alone?
Actually, I would encourage because of the benefits that I mentioned from solo traveling. But then it depends on the location. Like some countries, it's the fact that we know that it is known for scams, travel scams. So you have
Mhm.
women, they are a bit worried, they are scared, and they have tendency to be panicky. So it's their nature,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
in that way, I would not encourage to visit those countries. So actually, I would not list the countries here because you still have some nice things to see in that country. But then
Mhm.
for solo traveling, you just check on the place whether just Google search about travel scams, like for example in Paris, and then you will know
Mhm.
there are several travel scams. Like it's some they may be just looking like a cop asking for your ID. So in that way, I would not encourage. But another thing that women can do is to go solo travel to start within Malaysia first, like a solo trip to Langkawi, for example.
Mm.
So you know
I
that
see.
you have contacts, you are quite familiar with local people. Once you have gained that
Mhm.
confidence, then you can start to overseas, and then
Traveling
you maybe you can
overseas.
go for city tour first, like Singapore, Sydney, countries like
Mm.
that. And once you are like a kind of like a pro, then you can go all out, right?
I
Mhm.
see. Oh wow, that's a
Wow,
very
great.
nice trip.
Yeah, great advice
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
us
I think
women,
I'm gonna try.
especially.
Yeah, great advice. I
Go for it,
agree with
Alicia.
you.
All right,
We
so
follow this.
Dr. Roy, Can you suggest like which countries are affordable for what about me, like new travelers to
All right.
visit?
Actually, budget also depends. The term is quite broad.
Mm-hmm.
Budget to one person
Mm,
may not be budget to another, but
true.
this still depends on what kind of activities you want to do. The
Mm-hmm.
easiest thing is to choose a country that you do not have to pay so much for any activities or entrance fees. For example, visiting parks, beaches, so that you do not really spend. So I have a few
Mm,
from actually Southeast Asia. You can try with Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia. Cambodia, you can have a look at Angkor Wat, and Myanmar. You have so
oh,
many historical places. Of course, you do spend
yeah,
for the traveling within the country, but once you're in the location, most of the places are free of charge. You can just go and have a look. And
yeah, I agree.
and Oriental country, Korea is quite affordable compared to Japan and China. And South Asia, you can try with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is actually quite a safe country and quite affordable.
I see. So, yeah, I think like if we want to go for a budget friendly, I think we can go to like free entrance, right, Doctor?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, since you told us about all of those tips, is there any additional tips for new travelers to plan and budgeting for their trip?
Right. I would always say that do your homework, because I have a lot of people, because since I start sharing a lot of travel stories, I
Mm-hmm.
am open to share to share all my travel stories. But the thing is, I realized that people actually just ask me a very general question. For example, I'm going to Singapore. What to do in Singapore? So maybe I can list 50 places, but it may not be matching your preference, right? So do
I
some
see.
reading, Google search, get to know a few web pages, travel pages, and bloggers. Read about it when you're free time, and then ask opinion. Then you can approach. Actually, some of the famous travel bloggers also, if you are quite responsive to their page, actually they do reply to the DMs. Even they might be having hundreds of thousands of followers, you can still communicate, and that would be an inspiration for you to travel more. And then, like I said, join in membership programs. You do not have to book expensive things. Just join, register for free, like Agoda, Traveloka, big membership. Just register, and once you have start earning points, you will feel motivated to travel more.
Oh, points. Yeah, I think that's like the best thing you could get.
Yes.
So, Dr. Roy, since you said that before about scam, is there any travel scam that travelers should be wary of?
Oh yes, travel scams is basically random people trying to swindle your money from swindle money from travelers. So they are quite smart because they actually know that how you they know that you might be quite alert. So what they do is they come in a very casual form. They might be in looking like a normal person, or they might be coming in cops uniform. So the best thing is, if you're not confident or if you feel something is suspicious, avoid eye contact. And some countries, like I said, when you do your Google search, when you do your homework, you will actually discover that a lot of people have written about what are the travel scams common in the country. Like in Paris, this is quite common. They like to come like asking for donation, and there'll be another two or three standing behind you just to pickpocket. So the easy thing is avoid eye contact. Don't keep your wallets in your back pockets, so you will know roughly what to do. And another thing is to always keep the number of our local embassy in the country that you're visiting. So in case your passport gets missing or something happen, you need help, you can actually contact them, and they will help you to sort out the issue there. So do not get panicked first, and seek their help.
I see. Wow, very interesting topic. Um, Nikki, I cannot hear you, Nikki.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All
Okay, you're
right.
good. You're good
So,
now.
okay. That was actually a very
We can't
helpful
hear
tip
Nikki,
to
right?
share. Wait, you still cannot hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear you.
I can't hear actually.
Oh,
Oh no.
uh, I can hear you, Nikki. Actually.
Then maybe you ask the YouTube
All right.
question for
Okay.
Dr. Roy.
So, all right. So, in the beginning, I asked the audience to type any questions they have for you, Dr. Roy. So, I see something very interesting, like a very interesting questions from one Aisha here.
All right.
She asked, "What do you think would be the best country to travel when the border reopens?"
Like I said, it depends on your preference. If you have like but right now with this COVID situation, I would suggest to go somewhere nearby, because in case you have COVID in the country that you visit, it may be easy for you to deal with the local people, local authorities. And for now, I think they are opening Singapore borders right next week. So I think Singapore would
Yes.
be a good choice actually. And many people think that Singapore is expensive. Yes, it is, but you can go to a lot of places that are free of charge. They have many there. So maybe Singapore.
Oh, Singapore, yeah.
Ooh,
Because it's
okay.
near somewhere.
Yeah,
Right, Nikki?
All right. So, Dr. Roy, can you still not hear me?
I
No.
can't hear.
It's not.
Sadly, I can't hear Nikki.
Okay, but it's okay. Um, I guess that is actually the end of the show, everyone. Before we end the show, I want to ask Dr. Powell if he has any last words, but maybe Arisha can ask that
Oh,
to Dr.
okay, okay,
Powell for
sure.
me.
All right, so Dr. Roy, do you
Yeah.
have any last words for the viewers before we end the show? Maybe you want to promote your social media or anything. Now is the chance.
All right. Because traveling is interesting, and I think it's, if I describe everything about traveling, I think it will not, this time would not be enough. So go book a trip. I know it's MCO. Maybe you can at least book a local trip. Go to a destination and enjoy. Get yourself the experience. Get to experience it by yourself, and then start sharing it, because a lot of people are actually, they have very low self-esteem of sharing their travel experiences. Actually, you can start sharing, because you are basically teaching to travel to another person, and you might inspire them, and they might inspire you in return. And like they say that travel leaves you speechless, but when you return, you become a storyteller. So it's very true. When you travel, you doubt yourself, but when you come back, you have so much of stories to tell about your trip. And if you have any questions about traveling, due to the limited time, you can actually drop by to my Instagram account, The Roy Travels, and you can drop any questions. I usually spend time replying every direct messages. And I also have a travel blog. Currently, a little bit not active, because for the past few months I had exams and thesis writing, but I'll start back writing my travel stories. So it's also called The Roy Travels.
For travels. All right,
Ooh, all
Doctor.
right.
I will definitely follow you and ask you a lot more questions to you.
Thank you very
And
much.
to
Yes.
audience out there, please follow Dr. Roy to to know more of the amazing tricks and tips for traveling, especially for budget travel. Right?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Before we,
Right.
thank you so much, Dr. Roy, for sparing your precious time and agreeing to join our humble show and sharing how you plan for a trip, the tips and tricks to a budget-friendly traveling.
You're welcome. It's
And
my pleasure.
and thank
And
you to
thanks
all the
to both of
viewers out
y'all.
there.
You have made me very comfortable with the conversation, Arisha and Nikki.
Oh, so
Thank
sweet of you.
you. All right. So again, thank you again to all the viewers out there for tuning in to tonight's episode of Peeps Chat, where we learned a lot of stuff about traveling.
Yes. So before we end the show, do not forget to give tonight's episode a big thumbs up and don't forget to catch us live every Thursday at 9 p.m. on IIUM TV's YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Also, wait, Arisha, before we end the
Yeah.
show, there's actually one more question we missed lah from YouTube.
Oh my god. Let's
So,
ask.
oh my god.
What
Okay,
was it?
so there's a question by Dr. Roshan, by Eric Roshan. He asked, Doctor, how do you manage your time with work, studies, and also traveling at the same time?
Ooh,
All
interesting
right, actually, this
question.
is a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
It's all your willpower and your motivation. because I understand that it's not easy to balance between work, studies, and traveling. It has been a
Mm-hmm.
crazy journey for me, especially this past 4 years. But it's still doable. You just have to set your mind, have a timeline for your work. For example, you have some assignment to do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
get it done first. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I usually what I do is I usually book a trip after something a task that I have. For example, if I have exam, I book a trip after the
Mm-hmm.
exam because that will be like a motivation for me to complete my work. And definitely, you will work for both of it. You will plan for the trip, and also you will do your planning for the. You will complete your assignment. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely, budget is a thing also. But for me, I'm blessed that I'm able to accommodate my budget. So
Mm-hmm.
it is doable. It's doable. It's just you just need to have that willpower.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, the
But
willpower.
doctor, I have
Yeah,
one last question before we close the
sure.
show. So, what country would you travel to first after after the border reopens, and why?
What was the question?
Arisha, tolong
Because I
tanya.
can't hear Nikki.
Okay, okay, sorry. I thought you can hear her. Alright, so she asked you if you have any country you want to go if the border reopens, or you can go to the to go.
Which
Uh,
country
yeah,
would he
which
go
country you want to
for?
go?
I want to
Which
go
country you want to
Turkey.
go?
Turkey,
Oh,
because it
Turkey.
has been in my bucket list for quite some time. I love the. I mean, from my reading, I love their culture, their landscapes, and also the architecture. It's because usually in Europe, if you notice, every country they have that's one particular architecture, like Roman architecture in
Yes,
Europe. So
very
in
beautiful.
in Turkey, it's known as the Ottoman architecture. And you can see, all those
Mm.
mosques, churches there is like they have that as their. I want to see it myself, and also for the hot air balloon ride in Cappadocia.
Oh,
All right.
Cappadocia.
Though,
So,
yeah.
wow, very interesting. So, as just now, Arisha already told you guys to follow our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn. So, that's it, I guess, for this week's episode. We'll see you again next week with a new topic and a new guest. Don't forget to stay safe and abide by the SOPs. I am Nikki.
And I am Arisha, only on Happy Pips Healthy Chat. It's Peepschat by IIUM TV. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good night, everyone. Good night, Dr. Roy. Thank you for
Good
being
night.
here.